Hi, I'm Danya,
And I'm Shaheen.
and you're listening to or watching
Reality Woo Woo.
It's Not Something to Believe in.
It's something to talk about.
And on today's episode, I'm super excited because we haven't had a guest on in quite a while, but we have a guest on today. We have Leen joining us. Leen used
Welcome,
to...
Leen.
Yeah, welcome, Leen. Leen she was our intern 3 years ago at an agency that Shaheen and I worked at, and now she's a marvelous copywriter for Sephora. We joke often that she was me 10 years ago. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I almost wanted to introduce you like in the beginning as I am Danya, I'm Shaheen, and Leen.
And I'm Leen. Yeah, it would worked really well.
Would have worked.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Today, and so we asked Leen, it's a very special episode. We asked Leen to join us today because we're talking about Taylor Swift, and we'll be doing the astrology of her albums on today's episode. And Shaheen, you're not much of a Swiftie.
I don't know much about her. I just know when she's like kind of in reference to other celebrities. Yeah, that's pretty much all I know about her.
And Leen, you are a big Swiftie. How would you describe your relationship to Taylor Swift?
So it started when I was young, but then I phased out probably around middle school. And then Folklore came out and I reverted back. And Here we are today. You'll catch me at the Eras Tour in July in San Jose. See you there.
The Eras Tour in July. Yeah, so you are a convert. You came back, it sounds like. You like drifted from the light and then you sort of rotated back in.
And then you swifted towards the light.
It's true. I never disliked her, but I just
the spark had gone away in your relationship, so to speak.
I'm glad you phrased it that way, because every once in a while I like to say I don't dislike her, but she doesn't speak to me. Like her music doesn't it's not made for me. But now that you said it that way, I do think that there have been times where I disliked her. Now, if I'm being honest with myself and our listeners.
Well, and it might be, once we get into the astrology of her albums, it might be that you haven't found your Taurus album yet. It hasn't drawn it. That might be it, and we'll kind of get into it.
Or if there is one, I'll listen to that first.
Yeah, exactly. That might be your way in. This isn't an astrology podcast, but it's also a pop culture podcast, and so we can't talk about Taylor Swift without talking about kind of the controversy that she's sitting in right now. She's, excuse me, dating someone deeply unlikable. And, my thoughts on that are, she's a PR powerhouse and a master of marketing and an excellent songwriter, but she is also a very, very privileged white woman who is dating a pretty despicable guy after going through a breakup. And you'd expect more from her because she is 33, but we all do things like this. We just have the ability to do them in private.
I like this episode more now. Ooh.
There's more intrigue, right?
Yeah.
And but here's the other piece of it, right? Is she could have done this in private and she chose not to. So she's dating a bad guy to piss off her ex in public. And she knows she's so popular that it doesn't matter. And if Kanye and Kim couldn't take her down, no one can. And it's still alienating for her fans of color. But she's betting it doesn't matter, and she's right. And that's kind of my thought process on it. But if there's a way for us three, people of color, to profit off of her by talking about her, I'm fine with it.
I'm fine with that.
Excuse me. Sorry. Okay, so we're going to just rattle through the albums in chronological order. So, and Leen and I are going to kind of give a little bit of a vibe for each album, and then we'll let Shaheen sort of interpret that data. Yeah. And we'll sort of guess what sign we think each album is. So we'll start right at the top. Her first album is called Taylor Swift, self-titled. So maybe that's some data for you, Shaheen. She named the first album after herself. What vibe would you say it has, Leen?
I would say it has this is my first album vibes. I'm here. I'm not so confident that I'm sure this album is going to do numbers, but I do like my own music, if that makes sense.
How
It's
old
not
was
gonna do
she in
numbers.
this album?
I think she's 19. No, even younger, like
I think she
16.
Did
was
she
like
have long hair and a
15,
guitar in
16.
this album?
15.
Yes.
That's fair. Yes. Long curly blonde hair.
And a guitar.
Her
So
first
that was,
single
I
that
almost feel like
people
that's a
knew.
different person.
Yeah, different person. Yes, exactly. So I wrote down she's country here. She used daddy's money to get famous. This is album 1. It's outdoorsy. It's got a Pennsylvania sound to it, which is where she grew up.
What? Pennsylvania sound.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
funny
it has
to
a
imagine.
twang.
It has
It
a
has a
twang.
twang.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, her
A
first
not quite south
her
twang.
first single that people know is Tim McGraw. So literally named a single after a very prominent country star to get charting, you know? So there was definitely strategy right from the beginning. Kind of based on what we're describing. The other songs on it are things like Teardrops on My Guitar. Like she's very much walking this country road in this first album, you know?
I have another
Interesting.
thought
Okay.
about this album. I feel like because she's so young in this album, her songs, the way she sings them, sounds like heartbreak is like the worst thing that could happen to you at the age of 15.
And because it is the worst thing that can happen to you at that age.
I know what I want to guess this album is already, but is there more info before guessing?
No, that's I think it.
Okay.
What would you say?
I want to guess that this album is like a Cancer or a Leo.
Okay.
It sounds like Leo energy. Tim McGraw. I don't know if he's a Leo, but like it sounds very all American. We know that America, being born in July 4th, is a Cancer, and something else about like there's a lot of like self-awareness in this album, or not self-awareness, that's a bad word, ego maybe. There's like her top song is named after a star and her album's named after her. There's like a selfness about it.
Okay.
That was my guess.
I like that guess, and everything that you said made sense to me. I'm smiling because I think this album is a Taurus.
I thought so too.
Yeah.
I really thought so too.
And as you were describing it, I'm like, yes. And
You
we're
know
kind
what? I feel that. I ride with that. I just described all of the things that I would also say. And that's probably why I leans towards Cancer, because we have some similarities, despite me not wanting that.
I know. Yeah. So Leen, why do you think Taurus? It's very
Also, ego is very like Taurus.
I was going to say
Ego.
the Earth.
and structure. Like it's a classic, like there was structure to it, right? She already knew out of the bat, like I'm going to be a star, and was like working towards that. You know what I mean? So
It's like she knew, but she didn't want you to know that she knew.
Uh-huh.
You know?
It's also,
Like it has a humility to it. And like Danya said, it has structure to it. And it was the foundation of her career. So
yeah. I was laughing because I was like, you're describing your own sign, honey.
Yeah, no, I know. I like this. Also the earthy twang you guys were describing, country.
Yeah. The Pennsylvania sound.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I think it's an absolute Taurus. We're kind of in agreement on that. I think we're good to move on to the next album. Okay,
So I know which album I'm listening to first.
Yeah, that's the one. Okay, so Fearless is the next album that I have on the list here. So for me, my notes on it are it's really catchy. It's a little cutesy. It's definitely this is You Belong With Me is on this one. It's a little childish, but pretty romantic. Leen, how would you describe Fearless?
I think this is her hopeless romantic departure from Taylor Swift, because there's You Belong With Me, White Horse, which is very like storybook.
Hey
Cinderella.
Steven, that was totally like something I dedicated to my college boyfriend. Like it was a good one.
I love you, Steven. Yeah, 15, where when she says, when you're 15 and somebody tells you they love you, you're gonna believe them. Like Taylor.
Yeah.
But Forever and Always. I think that was about Joe Jonas.
Forever and All. Yeah. A Jonas brother. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I think this is
Did
her
she
hopeless
date him?
romantic era.
Did they
Yes,
date?
she did. Yes, she dated Joe Jonas. Yeah. Which is important. It does come up again, Shaheen. So keep that.
Okay.
Keep that. Okay,
That's a weird question. She dated everyone, apparently.
She's dated a lot of people, yeah, for sure. But she did date Joe Jonas. I feel like this one's going to be a slam dunk. What do you think, Shaheen? What sign are you leaning towards?
I wanted to guess it was like a Pisces. I don't know. Or a Cancer. It sounded emotional. But no, actually, when you were first describing it, saying it was catchy, it felt kind of like a Gemini, kind of lighthearted and easy.
It is an air sign. It's a Libra. This album is definitely a Libra.
That's where I was guessing Pisces. The stars in their eyes, hearts in their eyes.
Hearts in their eyes.
Hopeless
It's romantic. It is light. It is bubbly in a lot of ways. It's definitely a little more glam, even if you look at the cover art. Like, she's moved away. The first album is her with the curly hair, country looking, but it's like blue, and it looks like she's outdoors. Fearless, she's in a studio. It's white. Like, she looks a little bit more glammed out about it.
Yeah. Her curls are perfect.
Yeah, the curls have more product in them. If that
I should be looking at these covers now.
Yeah, if that actually might help you. Yeah, if you look at the cover art, that'll definitely help you, Shaheen, because the design of each will indicate to you.
Fearless looks like a Libra.
It looks like a Libra. It's a Libra
Libras
album
wear that
for sure.
top.
Yeah, that was an easy one for me. I didn't have a doubt in my mind about it. Did you have a guess, Leen, or does that sound kind of spot on?
I don't know too much about Libras because I don't know many personally. But I'm gonna take your word for it.
Would you think the album is balanced? Because there's highs, there's lows. That might be another kind of way to look at it.
Let's see. Yes, but I do feel like this song or this album is heavier on the highs.
It is a little more cutesy. It's a little
or at
more
least like
up.
hopeful. Like yeah,
because she's young. She's still she's got that in her.
Yeah.
Okay. I think Libra. I think we're gonna settle on Libra. I do want to point out that I have assigned one album per sign. So that's kind of the trajectory here. Okay. Let's move on to Speak Now. How would you describe Speak Now, Leen?
Speak Now is kind of whimsical. Like with Enchanted, Sparks Fly, Back to December. I feel like this is her first album that has, I feel like this is the first time she does like sadness on this album in her career.
Like true sadness. Yeah.
Yeah. And like
I'm giggling because I have a guess already, but you keep
going. This is the album that Dear John is on when she dated John Mayer. That song, in my opinion, is brilliant because it's post her relationship with John Mayer, and she talks about being 19 and like in the song hints at like, would he find this appropriate now? No.
Yeah.
Anyways, so I think this is like, we can tell like she's growing up.
Yes.
She's confronting reality.
I think kind of based on what Leen, I think I know what your guess is, Shaheen, but let me give you some other descriptors. Look at the cover while I'm talking, yeah?
I got the cover.
Okay. So
it's a little mysterious.
I would say this album is pretty reflective in tone. And I would also say that it's, of all the albums I was trying to go through, it's actually got the most varied celebrity themes. So Leen mentioned John Mayer, which Dear John is about. But she also has Innocence is on this album, and that's about Kanye West. This is after he interrupted her on stage. She also has Mean on there, which and Better Than Revenge, which are both about Joe Jonas but not just Joe Jonas. They're about Joe Jonas's ex. They're about his ex-girlfriend. And then Back to December is about Taylor Lautner. So there's a lot going on here. There's a lot of celebrities. It's a little bit all over the place. Then she has, as I mentioned, some of the titles of the songs are Better Than Revenge, Mean, Haunted are the titles of some of these songs. So, and this is one where I'm open to debate. This is one where I did not have a clear-cut answer on what I think the outcome is. I mean, I'm definitely leaning more one way than the other, but Shaheen, kind of based on that, what would you say your guess is?
Scorpio. I want to guess it's Scorpio because it sounds like she's growing up. She's confronting the darkness. I mean, firstly, I just saw the album art and I was like, purple. She's covering her, like she's hiding behind her arm. She's a little bit more like, I have secrets. But then in describing like kind of relationships and like, I don't know, the situations in her life that have been dark and her kind of expressing through the music sounds like a Scorpio to me.
Yeah. So this is one where I kind of wavered between Scorpio or Cancer. But and
definitely
it's really
watery.
interesting. Yeah, it's very watery. The reason I leaned towards Scorpio is because the lyrics on she's not apologetic in any of the songs, but she's very reflective. She took notes. She like it's so much about her observing and absorbing.
She's sliding into
life.
their DMs of their mind.
Yeah, there's so much about the details of other people's lives and her kind of reflecting that back to them. And
that's really she's talking about all these other people.
All of these other
know.
people. Yeah, and she took a lot of. It's not really talking about her. It's talking about other people, which I found. Yeah, it's private in a way, even though it's not private. It's quite interesting.
Also side note about this, I did years ago. I did a like celebrity painting series, and one of them I started Taylor Swift, and I didn't know that it was this picture of her from her album art, and then I painted over it because I was like, I'm over Taylor Swift. I don't really want to include her in this, and I turned her into Sia.
Into Sia. Interesting. Yeah. And that makes sense that you gravitated towards this album. Yeah. I think.
And the painting ended up being purple. That's really interesting. It started red when it was Taylor Swift and it turned out purple.
Interesting. I like that.
What to do with that.
Yeah. And so we'll get to it later, but there is an album that if you're just like kind of off the bat a Taylor Swift fan, that most people would assume is the Scorpio album. But this is actually, this is it. Speak Now is the Scorpio album once you kind of know the zodiac signs and really think it through. Okay, we're good. We're good with Scorpio. I think moving on to Red. So I have the descriptors and then I'll let Leen, you give your take on it. Red is fun. It's varied themes, definitely. There's some high highs, there's some low lows. This album has 22 on it. I'm feeling 22, that song. It has I Knew You Were Trouble When You Walked In, and then which are both really upbeat. This is her trying to get into pop music. This is like this is when we're starting to make the turn. She's not fully there yet.
These songs I kind of
know these songs
head,
already.
I think a little bit, yeah.
Exactly. But this album also has it's basically her magnum opus, All Too Well, which is about Jake Gyllenhaal. She, in the last 2 years, released a 10-minute version of this fucking song, but it's like extraordinary storytelling. Very good communication on this one. But I'll let Leen kind of describe this one as well.
Yeah. I agree with everything that Tanya said. This was like her radio era. This is like when she started really playing on the radio.
She's getting mass attention.
Yeah, like 22 was a huge deal.
It was in a Coke commercial. It was a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously Red, All Too Well. The lyrics are lyricking on that song. Like she really painted a picture, and that was like such a poetic song for such a pop album, I think.
Absolutely.
But then, like Danya said, there's a lot of like upbeat songs on here. Stay, 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 22. Like
I Knew You Were Trouble. Can you clarify this for me, Leen? She performs it later about Harry Styles. Like, I think she performed it at an award show and changed a lyric, but I don't know. I don't think it was originally written about Harry Styles. But this is around the era where she dates Harry Styles for like a month and then makes her life about it for the next 5 years.
I don't know.
You don't know. Okay.
Have that, and I don't want to mislead anybody. But yes,
yeah, the Taylor Swift scholars. Yeah,
they're gonna call you out if,
my friends
if
are
we get it
call me
wrong.
out.
Leave it in the comments.
I know. But yeah, there's also there's like a really emotional tone to this album that really balances, I think, the pop element. Like treacherous. This love is treacherous. And it's like almost an extreme version of every emotion. Like I Knew You Were Trouble is kind of angsty and ragey. We are never ever getting back together.
I love State of Grace.
Yeah.
Begin Again is on here, right? With Ed Sheeran. Yeah. There's some she has this is the one where she has the duet with the Snow what is that band? It's like she's Snow Patrol. She's got a duet with the guy from Snow Patrol on here.
Yeah.
It's good. I think you get the vibe, Shaheen. What do you think based on what we described?
Well, if the lyrics and storytelling are as strong as I expect, I would want to say it's a Gemini of an album. Because it also, you kind of said it wavers between like many different emotions, and there's a sense of balance, but also the way you described it didn't sound balanced. It sounded
extreme.
Yeah.
It's a shapeshifter album.
Yeah. So I was right. I get points.
You nailed it.
I get points if I'm right.
You do. Ding, ding, ding. You got it. Yeah. You've been good. You're definitely, you're on it. We were off to a rocky start, but you've settled in.
It's hard for Tauruses to see themselves. So that's, everything is accurate there.
For sure. Okay. We are now making our way to night. Just a side note. I am the same age as Taylor Swift. So 1989 is a big album for me personally. Contextually, I was young and living in West Hollywood and partying a lot when this album came out, so it's very vivid in my mind. This is peak Taylor Swift, Shaheen. She is, multiple songs are about Harry Styles, including the song Styles, or Style. This is like when we start seeing her with supermodels all over the world. This is when she goes on a huge tour and brings out a big celebrity every single night. She's the center of the world. This one's interesting though. She has Bad Blood is on this album, and that was originally about Katy Perry. So like another pop diva. And it wasn't really a feud. It was about a backup dancer that she stole from Katy Perry. It was like minimal. But at this point, she's crafting a narrative around evil and vengeful, because her life's kind of boring. It's just like an uptick,
she's just
right?
been a good
like
girl. Yeah.
She's creating drama for the allure of it a little. But Leen, how would you describe 1989?
Yeah, I think there's also some reflection in this album, like reflecting who she's with at the time. Like Wildest Dreams, that's like a situationshipy song. And then Out of the Woods, it's like, are we out of the woods? Are we? You know?
Also about Harry Styles, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I agree with everything you have to say, but I think it also has the same, what was it, Speak Now, that we said or Fearless, one of those. But yeah, the same reflecting element.
Yeah.
Sounds like a Sagittarius to me. It sounds like she's traveling around the world, showing us different worlds, and being kind of like in every conversation. I also, the thing you're saying about reflective, I was already in my own head about Sagittarius, so I wanted to skew your words and be like, is she being reflective or is she being philosophical like a Sagittarius would be? I feel like going around in circles around an idea is different than like looking back and saying, I could have, I should have. But I don't know what she's talking about on this album, so I'm just making guesses.
I like what you're saying here. I had this pegged as her Leo album because this is her like center. She is the center of the world really in this album, and she has all of these stars. She's the sun. She has all of these stars gravitating towards her, but no one is upstaging Taylor Swift on this tour. She's bringing out people like Carly Kloss, who's a supermodel but not more famous than Taylor Swift. She's bringing out people like Alanis Morissette, who we love, but it's not Taylor Swift. Like it's really interesting how she's using her own power.
Yeah.
And this is kind of right before a little bit of a reset in her career.
Yeah. Taylor's like, I don't think she was a superstar until this album. Like, she was a star. She was a pop star during Red. 1989 is when she becomes a superstar and starts hanging out with high profile people, like Danya said.
It's a fire album. It's a fire sign
For
album
sure,
for
fire
sure.
sign. Yeah.
So I could be swayed to think that it's a Sagittarius album. I love what you said about she's showing us different worlds. She's taking us around the world. This is like her world tour that took over, to Leen's point, the world. Like, this is when she becomes a global phenomenon for sure.
And she's also not, I mean, it's funny. She's being herself in 1989. It's herself. And I see where you're going with Leo, but it's also Sagittarius because she's a Sagittarius.
Because she's a Sagittarius. You know, you've swayed me. Let's say it's a Sag album. I'm into it. I'm into it.
I love it. I'm also convincing myself more that the first album is still a Leo, but I still have to listen to it to make that decision.
Honestly, it could be, but when you listen to it, that's not Leo
kind of soft.
Enough. It's too soft. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not. It's a little bit more sentimental.
More sensitive. Is that what you were gonna say?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Okay. Well, you guys swayed me, so I do think it's a Sag. Okay. Let's move into Reputation. So, do you have the album art up, Shaheen? Because this is important for you to see the vibe shift. Yeah. I'll let Leen kind of describe the tone first before
Moody.
A little bit.
Different.
Yeah. So, the album starts with Ready For It, which if you listen to that song, it's like she's coming right out of the gates, like really strong on this album. The cover art kind of speaks for itself. I think this is her like, you've come at me so much, like I'm just going to do whatever I want to do at this point. Like it's that kind of album. I think there's a lot of fun songs on here, like Getaway Car.
Getaway Car is an epic song.
Yes, so good.
Which is, to give context, Shaheen, Getaway Car is about her leaving Calvin Harris to start dating Tom Hiddleston. So she's really in a ramped up phase of like dating.
Interesting. Is Calvin Harris still alive?
Yeah, he hasn't released any music, right? In a long
time.
I mean,
he is alive, I think.
That was a genuine question. I thought that he's no longer with us. He is. That's cool. Moving on.
A lot of DJs have died, so that's a fair question.
There have been a lot, in the last few years.
Yeah. But then she also has like her angst. This is like her angsty era, but in like a very bold and loud way. Not like in her sad boohoo way. Like with Look What You Made Me Do. I Did Something Bad. It's just
Endgame is a really cool it's like a moody track that she had with Future and
she like raps on it.
Yeah, which is weird.
I think that one fell a little flat. But again, like to what I said earlier, like she's gonna do whatever she wants to do, and like because you came at her so much, she doesn't care if you think her rapping is terrible.
Yeah, she knows that she can't please she knows she can't please everyone, so she's like rebelling a little bit. In my notes, I have that it's a little bit of an obsessive album. So this is post Kim Kardashian and Kanye and their drama of them trying to take her down. I think it's a bit of a character that she's playing in this one, because even as the album progresses, she's starting to fall in love with her new boyfriend who she ends up staying with for 6 years, who that kind of colors the rest of these albums, who she recently broke up with. And I don't know, for me it's, as the album progresses, the last 2 songs on the album are New Year's Day and Tell Me What You Want. right? Is that what it's called? Yeah.
Call It What You Want.
Call It What You Want.
Call It
And
What
those are two of my favorite songs of hers. And I like her softer but introspective songs. And those are on this album too. It ends that way. So she comes out hard out of the gate. Are you ready for it? And then over the course of the album, it's not very, it's one of her least consistent albums actually, because it goes from being like in your face, I don't give a fuck. And then it kind of fizzles out and she ends up being, I think, more herself towards the end of the album actually. Cause I think it's a character that she's playing, but it's an obsessive character.
Interesting.
It's a front in the beginning of the album.
Yeah.
It's chaotic. It's a chaotic album.
Any guesses, Shaheen?
It's a lot. I'm trying to take it in.
I know, we're giving you a lot of information.
I feel like I want to say that it sounds... I almost want to say it sounds like an Aquarius, because it sounds kind of like far removed from like being relatable. It seems like it's in its own world a little bit. But you were also describing things that made me feel more like Scorpio.
And this is the album, I think, looking at the cover, everyone would be like, oh, that's her Scorpio album.
Yeah, it looks like it's like dark and moody and like chain around her neck. And she has like a ripped shirt or whatever.
Yeah, I totally think this is an Aquarius album. But Danya, I want to know what you think.
You guys can sway me on this one, I think. But I had that it's her Cancer album, because it's obsessive and manipulative, this album, because she's obsessed with what the media is portraying of her, and she's definitely this is the beginning of her. Well, I mean, theoretically you could say that Innocence a couple albums back about Kanye was her starting to be like, I'm the victim. But she's definitely that's what she's doing here. She's creating a narrative, but she's obsessing about it. And so I don't know, to me it feels very Cancer-y in that way. But you maybe have sold me on Aquarius, frankly. She's trying some stuff with the production of the album for sure. There's like a techie sound to some of the songs.
I see what you're saying though. Like, this is like the dark side of Cancers that people don't see.
Yeah, I could see this being Cancer-y too.
And Cancers care about their reputation a lot.
They do. They care about because they're supposed to come off as wholesome, and this is her not coming off as wholesome. Yeah,
they have they can have a very broody side.
They can have a petty side, and that's what this album is to me personally.
Right. So this album might be like like a Cancer rising.
Yes, I could see this being an Aquarius Cancer rising. Yeah. Okay, that's a good compromise for me. Okay.
It's funny.
Next album is Lover. Simply titled Lover. This came out in 2019, so this is pre-pandemic. It was July of 2019, I remember specifically, because I was in Hawaii for work.
What a bubbly, warm,
it was what a time to be alive,
frilly.
Truly.
I know, I was looking at the album art.
Yeah, and the album art. The first song on it was called Me, and it was featuring Brendan Urie from Panic at the Disco. But I'll let Leen kind of walk you through it a little bit more.
So this one has I think it has both upbeat, like fun songs, and also like softer, more lovey-dovey songs, but then also like kind of Reputation era songs, like The Man, when she talks about like, if I were a man, then I would be the man. Like, very much about her, you know?
It's like Beyonce's If I Were a Boy, but it's Taylor Swift.
Yes, but a white woman, correct.
I see.
And then she has The Archer, Cornelia Street, and False God, which are like very soft, lovey songs.
London Boys on this one?
London Boys on this one, which is kind of teeny bopper.
I don't
she talks
see
about
London
how
Boy on the...
she loves SoCal, but she loves a London boy, and like loves hearing about how he went to uni. Just like little play on words,
obsessing over British people.
Yeah, and then Death by a Thousand Cuts. I think one of the shining songs on here really is Cornelia Street. Like, I feel like that's one that almost everybody that knows Lover knows. She'll never walk Cornelia Street again because of whatever one's about.
I have that in my notes. It's definitely the gayest album, and I don't know if that's like a performative. I mean, it is performative. So in the Me video, she's got like the Queer Eye guys. She like squashes the feud with Katy Perry because now she's actually had actual drama. So she's past the like made up drama with Katy Perry. She the remix of Lover she has Shawn Mendes on it. And it's a little bit more honest, which I think I only have that context from watching her documentary. But the song The Archer, it's called The Archer because it's Sagittarius. But she talks a little bit about what she's actually like in relationships, which is a little chaotic. And so that kind of comes out. She talks about like reacting to invisible smoke, meaning like she's making mountains out of molehills just for the fun of it. I'll be honest, the album is pretty like dreamy, but for me it's a little forgettable. But yeah, those are kind of my notes on it. Do you have a guess sort of based on that?
I wanted to guess Pisces just by the album art. And some of other things that you were saying.
Leen, what was the first thing you said? What was the first thing you said about this? Because that I was like, oh yeah, this is exactly. You said that it has Reputation era songs in it. So that's one thing I think people get wrong about Pisces, which we talk about a lot, is like Pisces are not just sad. They're emotional beings. They're reflective of all of the emotions that are going on. So the man is about kind of society. Like she is reflecting society in that. There's high highs. There's some sadness. There's a song on here about her mom having cancer and the Dixie chick or the Chicks are on it with her. So it's a reflective album on a lot of different emotions. It's her own emotions. She is talking about herself on this album. She's in love, but also going through some stuff publicly, but also
grieving in real time.
Yeah, it's a very Pisces album. Pretty solidly Pisces.
Nice.
Okay. We'll move on to folklore. Yeah, you got a point. Very good. I
love folklore.
Do you want to describe folklore, Leen, and then I'll go into it?
Oh my gosh. Folklore is when my love reignited for Taylor. I don't think, well, correct me if I'm wrong. She has never done something so poetic as folklore until she did Evermore. But folklore was like one big story in an album with a few one-offs, but it was about almost everything, like young love, but it was also about like people that went to war, like people that worked during the pandemic, like frontline workers. And like if you've seen Long Pond Studios, you will have, and like you have an appreciation for this album. Now Joe Alwyn helped her write some of these songs, I believe. So that is something to note, but they're really good. So I can't hate him for that. Although I'm sure it was mostly her. But this song just like, it's like listening to a movie. Is how I just.
That's cool.
Yeah. So this is to give you, I'll talk about the context of the album. This is a pandemic album. She released it as a surprise. Nobody knew that this album was coming. It has excellent storytelling. It is by far her most cohesive album. It's very introspective. I would almost evoke the term hermit because we were all locked inside. Yeah, I'm gonna leave you. It's very detailed in a lot of ways, and I'll leave you. And Leen loves it. So what do you think it is, Shahi? I also love it. This is my favorite album.
Capricorn. I don't know. I'm looking at the album art and I keep thinking it's very like cold and wintry and like earthy, but in you describing that I want to say Capricorn.
Okay. So
No
This
points.
is a pair. No, I'm going to give you context because we're going to go into no points. The next album is, so these were a pair. So she released Folklore, I think in like June or July. So we had been in the pandemic a couple months. I know that it was before August because she has a song on there called August that became very popular as it came out. So she releases it 3 months into the pandemic, basically. And it's a highlight. People needed this, you know? And then as she releases Evermore, so these were like a pair, it was a pair of albums. I think Evermore came out in December. So that does have a winterier vibe. Folklore is a Virgo. It is the Virgo album.
I see, yes.
It's the Virgo album. It's so cohesive. She does depart from only talking about herself in this album. She kind of constructs other narratives, kind of other characters as well. But to Leen's point, it's incredibly poetic. It's a well-written. It's a well-written novel, really.
It is.
Yeah, I felt like I was missing a sign when I was going through all of them in my head, and then you asked, and I wanted to search what was the zodiac signs just to have them in front of me. I bet I would have said Virgo if I saw it.
It's the Virgo album. Okay. So then let's go into Evermore because these were kind of, like I said, they came out within 6 months of each other. They were a pair. But I'll let Leen kind of describe Evermore a bit.
I feel like Evermore has this theme about just like the really mundane things in life and making them just dramatic. Like, but it's true. Like when you're alone and you're not thinking past yourself or about others, and you think these things when you're in these situations, like Coney Island. Like I'm sitting on a bench in Coney Island wondering where my baby goes. Like it's just really main character energy about really simple things. Or what else? 'Tis the Damn Season.
Good
like
song.
Going home from college and like reigniting a 3-week love with somebody from your hometown. Just really simple. Champagne Problems is about breaking off an engagement, and you know the family like talks about her, and you know they'll just say it was champagne problems. But this album is really good. It's phenomenal.
I would say that I described this is the workhorse album. It's more somber. It's good storytelling, but definitely more serious. And it's the features album. I like to kind of note that this album has the most features of any of her other albums. So she was looking for, I don't know, maybe connection, right? Because we were all a little bit deprived of that when she built this album. But Taylor Swift is known for having people featured on songs, but like barely. Like she never showcases them. But these are like true. Some of them are true duets, is particularly the one with the National and the one with Bon Iver. The one with Haim, like she's got Haim on one of them. Yeah. They're just like they're harmonizing in the background for her.
I always pronounced it Haim.
Haim. Yeah, whatever. Yeah. Okay.
So this is the Capricorn album.
This is the Capricorn album. Yeah.
I knew it right away.
Yeah. This is the Capricorn.
I was like, this is why I was confused, because it was a 2-part. They're both Earth signs released separately. Yeah. Even some of the things Leen said, what were you saying that made me think so Capricorn-y? It was
'Tis the Damn Season. Main character, but mundane.
Yeah. That to me, that was like.
That's such a good way to describe a Capricorn.
I was like, this is a Capricorn album. Yeah, that language. Main character energy is like their cardinal sign.
Mundane main
but
character.
Simple.
That's
I think
Capricorn.
she said simple. Yeah.
Very simple. Yeah. But clean, sturdy. Like that's what this album is, you know?
Yeah. Like her Pendleton jacket on the cover.
Yes.
Exactly. Or whatever brand it is. Looks
well made. Well made. Will last a long time for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll get so we're right up to her most recent album. Before we jump into it, Leen, I don't know if you kind of made a distinction here, but just to kind of but kind of give a fair shake to all of or as many signs as we could. I have a guest for Midnights, and then I have a guest for Midnights, the 3 a.m. edition. I think they're different.
Ooh.
So Midnights, just to give you context, Shaheen, it just came out in March. I think
like
so.
the album art.
Yeah. So this just came out. And
It came out in 2022.
Oh, it did. Sorry, I guess. Yeah. So Midnights, and then the 3 a.m. version was released immediately, like the same day, but it has about 6 more tracks at the end that are, they've got a little bit of a different vibe, I would say, than the kind of original set of songs. So I'll let you describe Midnights, Leen, because I know that you're a big fan of this one.
I literally love this album. I think this is my Taylor album. But Midnights, I think, is her carefree, not petty, but like letting you know where I'm at, but I'm not being petty about it, So like Karma is on this album. Like Karma's my boyfriend, Karma's a god, like Karma's a cat purring in my lap, like just random things. And the worst thing she says in that song is, aren't you she says, for me, karma's a relaxing thought. Aren't you envious that for you it's not? Like, that's the worst thing she says in that song, which is very unreputation, like, where she was very jaded. And then she has... I
like hearing these lines. The lines, kind of hit me.
I'll pull them out all day. And then she has Mastermind, which I love. Basically, it's her saying how she orchestrated finding her love and like played every step very cunningly and with thought behind it. Like, you're in a relationship with her because she wanted to be in a relationship with you and she found a way to make it happen. And then Antihero, her first single off the album, so good. Basically, she just talks about, I feel like it's just very much about being human. Like, she talks about getting older but never wiser, the criticism she faces, and it's a very like catchy song. I listened to it incessantly on repeat when it first came out. It's super catchy. And then Lavender Haze, just like dreamy, fun, lighthearted. Yeah, those are my thoughts on Midnights.
Couple more notes for you, Shaheen, just to give you, I think Leen summed it up really well, but totally, it's not petty, but she's being more honest. Like Mastermind, she's telling you who she is. Karma, she's saying like, take it or leave it, this is kind of what it's like. She has a song on here called You're on Your Own, Kid, which I think is great. And recently Stevie Nicks described it as like, it's her song to Christy McVie, who died from Fleetwood Mac. Like, that's her partner. Like, You're on Your Own. It's really touching. Antihero, as we know, the line, I'm the problem, it's me. There's like that refrain is in there. She does have Lana Del Rey on a track on this album, and once again, Lana Del Rey is barely in the song, and it's like hilarious.
But she came out with a new one,
newer one.
Yeah,
that has a little bit more because of the criticism. I love Bejeweled is a song on here. All of them songs have like I want to say glittery sound to them. They sound like jewels.
Yeah.
Like, it's like a lot. It's very like a jewel feeling album to me personally. And yeah, that's what I've got for that one, but curious to hear what you think based on our descriptions.
I went back and forth a lot. Like, this is not my guess, but when you said make a relationship happen, like, this is cunning, thoughtful, like making this relationship happen. That sounds like a Virgo thing to do, but that's not my guess. I feel like the carefree but not petty, older but never wiser. There's fire on the cover, and On Your Own, Kid feels kind of like Aries energy. I want to say Aries for this album. Yeah, I'm not the problem. Aries. It's me should be tattooed on every Aries' neck.
Every Aries. Yeah.
Was I right? Do I get points for this? I get major points for this.
You got points. Just another note. It's not super important. Lavender Haze. Zoe Kravitz is credited as like a co-songwriter on
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so
That's
it's
cool.
just cool. This album's cool. You know, it's got she has a Wurlitzer in what's the song right before Mastermind on the album, Leen?
It is Sweet Nothing.
Sweet Nothing. It's like that's a very soft song, which I love. It's a Wurlitzer. That's the piano that Jeremiah plays in our room all the time. It's like got a very dreamy 70s sound. Like,
Yeah.
so it makes sense that Stevie Nicks really connected to this album. Like, it's totally Aries, impulsive, but like kind of carefree. Like, it's got a 70s feel vibe to it in a lot of ways, which the 70s were an absolute fuckery shit show in this country, and we're kind of there again, and that's what this is for sure.
We are kind of there again.
Yeah, this is an Aries album.
Yeah.
So then 3 a.m. I don't know if you have notes on this, Liam, but I'll give my notes, you can chime in, and then we'll let Shaheen guess. So there's about 6 more songs, as I mentioned. They're titled things like Glitch, High Fidelity, Paris, which is kind of set in the past. It's a little bit of a time travel-y sounding song. The songs are more meta. The last song is called Dear Reader, and she's talking directly to the listener. Like, if you knew who was writing these songs, you wouldn't be taking my advice, is basically the takeaway. From
That's self-aware and
it's very
thoughtful.
it's meta. She's talking to the reader, the listener, you know. While knowing her fans, a lot of them are like bookish girls who love lyrics, you know, like there's a little bit of that happening. So yeah, I have a guess, but I don't know. Is there anything you want to add? Do you have a favorite of the on 3 a.m.?
Give me a line.
I love The Great War. I love that song. I also love High Infidelity. I feel like the songs she added. So, Shaheen, it's called
The Great
Midnight
War
Season.
is. They said that it might be about her like having an abortion, right? Like that's what kind of the rumor. That's what I've heard. That's what I've heard. But go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I think the theme of Great War is like we survived the Great War, so like I'm sticking with you. I think that's like what the general theme was. I can't remember the lyrics off the top of my head, but that's the sentiment that's staying with me. High Infidelity, I think they're saying that that's about Joe Alwyn perhaps cheating on her, maybe. But the last songs on, as I was saying, Midnights is about her midnight thoughts, like thoughts that keep you up at night. 3 a.m. edition is like 3 a.m., like your 3 a.m. thoughts. This is like a turn. And first Midnights is like carefree in the best way. And Midnight 3 a.m. edition at the end is like carefree, but I really do care though. Like these are like I'm digging deeper now, and these are what I'm thinking. These are the thoughts I'm thinking.
I don't know. I want to say, because we've already gone through so many signs, and now I'm trying to just fill in the blanks. I want to say Cancer or like Pisces. It seems like kind of more sensitive. Originally, I wanted to say Sagittarius again, because carefree is like this word that I stick with Sagittarians, because I always say that they're careless, but they like to say that they're carefree. But when you said that it's more reflective and emotional than the other version of this album, I would say more water energy goes with it.
Yeah, so you guys convinced me that 1989 was her Sag album, not Leo. Like that's kind of so I had done this where Sag was the only sign she'd never made an album from, and and she is a Sag, so they all have like a Sag energy, but she's never made like a true Sag album. I had ascribed Aquarius to this one because there's a time travel element to it, glitch, high fidelity. It's a little techie. Just because of some of the themes, so that's where I kind of had settled
convinced.
it. But I'm okay with you thinking it's a little bit more watery. This could be the positive side of Cancer, honestly, because it is a little bit more reflective and it's endearing. Definitely, she's taking care of the listener with some of these songs.
It's kind of like a grown-up dance album.
Yeah,
like
she's saying you're gonna make mistakes, and that's part of it. That's okay.
Yeah, like her last dance album before this one was
1989.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which
that
was
was kind of the last one you could like move to. Yeah.
But it's also like a chill album. Like Danya said, like very 70s reminiscent. And like the photography for this album is very much like 70s vibes.
She released
maybe
like,
it's Aquarius on the cusp of Pisces. It's like a little bit
like
70s
that,
and out there, and yeah, it's kind of moving over towards the reflective side of Pisces.